So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining. This is the class that I'm giving right after Shavuot. And last week we spoke about, the hidden Torah that was uncovered of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which is don't make an idol or a mask or a picture. We're going to continue talking about it. But before we continue talking about it, I wanted to talk about an avodah that I did on myself, and also like a result that I saw thanks to it. So I plan events, and I decided that one of the things I want to do is to allow myself to relinquish, to do as much as I can, and then allow God to step in and take charge, and not to feel like I control everything, but to know that Hashem is in the picture and He is very much in control, and He has a say, and He is able, to do things better than I can do it. And I want Him to shine as opposed to myself shining. And one thing that showed me or proved it to me is that one of the parties that I did, which was a huge one in Yafo, a beautiful old ancient Turkish building with very, very tall ceilings. And that was like the main party of the event. And I did the menu with the chef, like in literally 10 minutes, telling them, it's very important that they have good food, that people really want nice food and they're foodies. And we picked, now all the events came and went, and it turned out that this event, we're actually sitting with the chef that took me the least time and I put the least effort in it. That was the smash hit of the trip. What I thought was going to be the smash hit, which was going through the generation tunnel and seeing the deceased mother, show up on the board. I thought that was going to be the highlight of the trip. It totally wasn't. And the highlight of the trip was actually the food that they ate in this particular venue. Now, I felt like this was such a sign to show me, Michal, you have to have humility. You don't run the world. You're not in charge. You're not the one who controls and sees that everything is done exactly in the way that you want it to happen. But we came to a situation where I hardly put any work, where I really did it as an aside, and that was the highlight of the trip. People kept on coming and telling me, "Wow, this is amazing! This was great, unbelievable." Whatever. And really that helps me to be able to put things in Hashem's hands a lot more, to know that I didn't come into this world to shine myself and if I were to say how amazing I am, how incredible, blah, blah, but really in my life to be able to shine Hashem more. Okay. Now I want to take us to another place that Shoshana, gave us a little segue to. My husband and I have been in this community for the past half a year, and he's been trying to expand the kind of activities that the community does together. He wants to create a more cohesive community. One of his ways in doing that on Shavuot was to have a class in memory of his mother. And with the class, everyone sits around tables and eats, and we have the class together so that it's not, there's shul, and then everyone leaves, and the people who want to stay in the class stay in the class, and every other month there's a kiddush. He wanted to start like a movement of making a kiddush every week and doing the class and everyone eating together in the class. And the way that he decided to do it was in his mother's yard site in the class that he was doing. And he did it, and it was really beautiful. And he went to the committee and he said, listen, on a weekly basis, I want to do the class and the kiddush and sitting and talking and learning together. And the committee said, no, I'm sorry. We'll have a kiddush every other month, just like we did. And the class, we don't want it to be with eating, and just have the class upstairs. Don't go downstairs to eat. And that way people who want to talk to their friends don't have to feel like they're tied down, et cetera, et cetera. So he told me that this is what's happening. And I realized that I wanted to do a different type of listening with my husband. I wanted to listen with my heart. What does it mean to listen with my heart? I didn't want to race in my mind of what am I going to tell him that he should tell the committee? What are the ideas to solve the solution? How could he do things differently or anything like that? I decided that instead, I want to concentrate very much on what he's saying and what his dreams are and what is the tahalich, which is the process that he wants to bring the community to. And as I was listening with my heart, I realized that listening in this way tells us a lot about ourselves, because as we process what the other person is telling us, we learn a lot of things about ourselves. When we're able to constrict ourselves and just listen to what our spouse, to what our child, to what our friends, our parents, our brothers, our sisters, the people around us are telling us, these are shlichim, these are shlichim, are messengers from Hashem for us to learn more about ourselves and to see what moves us, what triggers us, what does our heart tell us as our spouse is talking to us and giving their experience. And it reminded me of, in order for God to create the world, he needed to constrict himself so that we will have room to be heard, to be seen, to exist. And when I listen to my husband as he talks to me, and I try to listen all the way without giving advice and without jumping in and without, telling him what he needed to say and not needed to say and how to handle it further from here. In that constriction of myself, that's where I really find myself. That's where I really get to know myself. That's when I really am able to meet Hashem. How am I able to meet Hashem? Because I'm present in that moment. And Hashem, as we said, his name is Havaya. His name is Hoveh, present. It's in the present. His name is not past and it's not future. His name is present. And so when I am able to hear in that way, in that deep way, I'm able to bring God into my life. And I'm able to bring God between me and my husband, or between me and anyone else that I am listening to. Now, it means that our mind is not jumping all the time. It means that we're constantly present, constantly listening all the way. Now, once I did that with my husband, I found, first of all, that what I learned about myself is that I'm always itching to give advice. What I learned, and this is invaluable information about myself, because everyone that God created around us, it's for us to be able to learn something about ourselves. So I learned that I want to jump in and give advice. I also learned that I have a tendency to go head to head with other people, because I wanted him to tell the committee, I'm going to have food if I want to, and this is the way I want to do it, and I'm the rabbi and whatever. And I realized that I immediately go into conflict resolution with a very militant kind of approach, So this is an invaluable thing that I learned about myself, that I tend to be militant. I'm going to give another example of that. When I did the events, I had an amazing hostess, and she had 10 days with us, and she was paid very well. And she's about to have another bar mitzvah with us. She's getting paid $400 a day in Israel. It's amazing. She's making $4,000 in 10 days. She's also incredible. In the army, she took charge of logistics and everything like that. So I told her, I want to sit down together and plan out the next trip. And she was telling me she doesn't have any time in the coming week to come and meet with me for 2 hours. I don't want to do it over Zoom. I wanted to do it face to face. Immediately when she told me that, what I saw about myself is I move into militant mode. I feel like I need to battle. I feel like I need to fight. And what it brought up in me is I wanted to tell her, so fine, I don't want you as a hostess. I'm never working with you again. You're going to do what I tell you to do. You're not going to do what you want to do. So those are very important insights that I have into myself. And the only way I can get these insights into myself is if I listen with my heart. because I'm listening to what the other person is saying. I'm seeing what it does inside of me. And I realize what my avodah is in this world. I get to know myself better through my listening. And it does, and it means I don't have to say anything. I don't have to advise. I don't have to control. I don't have to tell the other person, why my way is the better way, or why things just have to be done my way. I don't. I could relinquish it and just see my internal processes and what is happening with myself. So with this hostess letter, so first of all, with my husband, I with my husband and with this hostess, this is an avodah that I want us all to take on. I want us to take on the ability of being present, because I feel like we're so distracted. There's our phone and we are multitasking, and we're trying to cover so many things, and we are seldomly present. Just like my hand is doing the dishes and my ear is listening to my husband and there's music in the background. Like no, I want my head to be where my hands are. I want it to be in one line, and that one line connects me to Hashem. And if my husband is talking to me, I want to close the water and listen to him to the end. And this is something incredible that happened when I was able to do that, when I was able to listen to my heartbeat and to what my heart is telling me. I just listened to the end. I asked just clarifying questions, and I let him just go on. And I found that he was able to find his own voice and find different things to do that were out of the box for him, was out of the ordinary for him. In other words, they were things that I would have done, but had I told him about it, he wouldn't have taken it. He wouldn't have taken it up because it didn't fit him. It wasn't his characteristic. But me giving him makom and kavod, which is, as we always said, these are Hashem's name. I gave him space and I gave him respect, and those two are Hashem's name. I was able to give him the ability to come to his own conclusions, to his own decisions, to a way that he feels good and comfortable with himself in running the show as a rabbi. Running his show as a rabbi. I need to do something over here, because how do I show my picture? Okay. I don't know. Oh, okay, great. This is how my picture comes up. Perfect. So my son, he downloads all these videos, and he tells me, Ima, every time I download it, I see other people, I see blank. You have to make sure that you're on it. So David, this is for you, honey. And let me put this on a bit higher so that, great. Okay. That'll really make him happy. Okay, so as I was saying, our ability to constrict ourselves, which is making ourselves godlike, our ability to listen with our heart, our ability to give the person in front of us room and space, will do two things. One, will help me meet myself, will help me get to know myself better, will help me know what avodot I need to do on myself, and also will give the ability to the people around us to be able to come to their own decisions, their own conclusions, to carve out their own life. We so frequently are trying to carve out everyone else's lives around us. But
Michal?
Yeah.
Can I tell you what else it does? What I've been finding?
Tell me. I would love.
I find that it actually is very relaxing for me, because now when somebody starts chatting with me or even approaching me with, can we discuss, or can I tell you, instead of myself feeling like I'm bracing myself as though I have to, like, quote, be prepared, I actually relax. My body becomes like so relaxed, because my job is to listen and to hear and to be all in to listen. And it really changes the experience for myself from being a pressured one, an intense one, another like who's asking me what and taking a piece of me, to me being just a listener. And it's made me more excited, so to speak, when a person in my family, or even just a regular, but it's usually family, that approaches me, because it's a time for me to, if anything, do nothing.
Mhm.
And I like that.
Amazing. Amazing. So you're saying it took you from a place of anxiety when someone approaches you to a place of relaxation. And I feel like in that relaxation, that's where you meet yourself the most. That is where you really
Yes,
meet yourself.
but I wouldn't say a
Yeah.
place of anxiety. I would just say a
Mhm.
place of time to work again, or get ready, or
Japan.
another job,
Right.
another.
Amazing.
That's what I would say, more than the
Beautiful.
word anxiety. But
Mhm,
and now
mhm,
it's
mhm.
like, oh, I'm going to just be a listener. Not that a listener is not a job or
Mhm,
not
mhm,
work,
mhm,
but it's a
mhm.
different, for me at least, it feels
Right,
much more pleasant. So,
right, right. There's
yeah.
nothing expected of you. There's nothing like you are going to allow it
Right,
to
right,
unfold. You're going to allow it to
right,
unfold. Wonderful.
right.
Amazing. Can I just tell you also something that became such a load off for me as well? When my daughters come to me and they ask me for advice, like, what do you think we should do? Or like my daughter asked me, I'm doing a birthday party for my 2-year-old, and my 4-year-old is going to see him getting all the gifts. What should I do? Should I get him a gift? Should I not get him a gift? I love saying, it's a good idea to ask your father what his Torah in this instance. What does he say about it? And the truth is, everything that our children ask us, there's a Torah behind it that could be taught. And when I send them to their father, first of all, I'm making their father more present in their lives. Second of all, I'm having their father articulate his Torah. And when she asked her father, Abba, what should I do? Should I get him a gift so that he won't feel bad? So Ralph said, no, it's birthday party's person. He gets all the gifts. When it's going to be, the 4-year-old's birthday, he's going to get all the gifts. So when I heard that, I said, I told my daughter, Shalava, you know what Abba is trying to say? Abba is trying to say that we need to build in our children the ability to wait and delay gratification. It's very important to build it. And if you believe that it could be built in him, it will be built in him. So the father's Torah was delayed gratification. But what I'm trying to say is that many, many events of them coming to me and me feeling like, okay, now I have to get the right answer. Now I have to give good advice. Now they're expecting this of me and that of me. Very similar to what you, Val, is saying. With the listening, when they want an answer, I could send them to their father. And their father is getting the opportunity to be wise, to find out his Torah, to be able to how do you say, to be able to crystallize it, to be able to be mitzamtzemet. In other words, to to get to the point of his Torah. That's what their father is learning to do with them. And why I loved it is I was going to say, yeah, just buy the 4-year-old one gift and let the 2-year-old get the 10 gifts, and and just have quiet on the Western Front kind of a thing. No, my husband is saying, how are we going to develop delayed gratification? I trust that he can develop delayed gratification, and he will know that when it's his turn, he will also get it. Plus, it's going to teach him how to share and how to be be'ain tova, and like there are all these other things that all these other good traits that our children could develop when they go to the father and ask him for his Torah. But I am saying that there's a point where we might have to try to clarify the Torah. As I said, Abraham is called the Ivri. He's called Abraham Ivri. Ivri is the Hebrew. Ivri in Hebrew also means to see me'ever, to see beyond. It's like for us to be able to see beyond what our husband's saying, to see the Torah and to see a little bit beyond. Like my husband said flat out, no, just one kid is going to get the gifts. The other kid doesn't need it. He'll get it in his own time. But really what's beyond is delayed gratification. We need to teach our children that they could wait, that they should have patience, that their time is going to come, that the spotlight could be on one person and we could be happy for them and we could be okay and we're able to wait. And all of those beautiful characteristics, all of those beautiful Torot. Okay, so I want to go back to something that I taught last week and just really highlight it a little bit. I heard that my recording last week was not good at all, but I really feel that this is very important. At times we speak about our retzonot, we speak about what we want. And all the time we always have two retzonot, always. I had a ratzon to go to the Yom Yerushalayim parade, and I had a ratzon to stay home and rest because I had a hectic week. A ratzon to give the class, a ratzon to go to the wedding. Both of them are things that I love and want. Now, I want us to have the ability to do that with the retzonot, to be able to listen to each ratzon as if it's the only ratzon in the world, right? To listen, to allow that ratzon to talk, not to argue with the other ratzon, to separate the two retzonot of going to the wedding and going to the class, of going to Yom Yerushalayim, of staying home, to separate it and to allow each one of those retzonot to talk to us and to listen to that conversation of what the ratzon is saying, to what our desire is saying. And after we listen, I want us to relinquish both retzonot, to relinquish and just let them sit. Don't say any word that says, I want to do this, but I want to do that, but. The but negates whenever we listen also to someone and we tell them, yeah, but the other day you did this. Yeah, but what about that? When we say but, we negate what the person is saying. We negate the desire of before. So I never want our desires to talk to one another. You want to give the class, but what about the wedding? And if I want to go to the wedding, what about my students? No, we're not going to but at all. We're going to say one ratzon, we're going to say another ratzon, and we're going to leave them peacefully and quietly observing them together, knowing that the truth of our ratzon will battle with it and we'll rehash it and hash it, and the truth is going to come out. And then when we pick it, we know that that's our emet, and the other thing doesn't exist for us. It doesn't exist for us because we have reached another level. So I want us to be able to listen to our retzonot in that calm and kind and peaceful way with our heart, without having the retzonot fight one another, without having the retzonot fight within us. So that kind of listening, which we constrict ourselves and we allow either our retzonot or the person standing across from us, is we're basically doing what Hashem did when he built the world. When Hashem built the world, he constricted himself so that we will have a place to exist. When we constrict ourselves, we allow the other person. It's as if we're creating a world and allowing the other person to exist. And I saw that so clearly. And also, Shashan, I'm sure that you saw that clearly. I saw it so clearly by listening to my husband and allowing him the space and the room to exist and constricting myself. He was able to create a world for himself in which he could navigate in a very confident way. So that listening with our heart and with all our ears, we get two kinds of benefits. One, we're allowing the other, we're as if we're creating a world for the other. It's like being godly and creating this space for the other person to be created, right? Like my husband coming out with his ideas and his desires and the way he's going to function and how he's going to deal with it, right? That was him allowing him to build, to come into existence. And the other thing is we find out about ourselves. We find out about what makes us tick and what aggravates us and what makes us calm and what creates anxiety within us and what it creates militancy within us, which is what I discovered. And what I'm so happy to say is that I know that the hostess doesn't want to come and have a meeting with me because she thinks, well, they're not paying for the day. I know they're paying me for fine, and the recording is in progress. Okay, fine. Let me continue the class. So I want to continue with the story of my friend Sarit, who is in the process of getting divorced. And what was the trigger?
I'm sorry, before that, Michal, can you possibly,
Yeah.
if it's appropriate, can you finish explaining about the woman that you hired? Because I didn't know,
Oh,
unless it wasn't
okay.
relevant. But
No, it
we
was very relevant. It was very
okay. So
relevant. Oh,
I
okay.
missed
I
it
didn't
completely.
realize.
I mean,
Okay,
I don't know.
fine.
Maybe it was just me. I don't know if it was me and everyone. That, I mean, I was on, but I don't know.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So, so this hostess that I hired, instead of becoming very militant, which is the avodah that I'm doing on myself, which is something I discovered about myself, which we don't want to be in this world as if we have to fight, as if it's a war. We want to walk around in this world as if it's a Gan Eden for us. It's a Gan Eden for us. It's a beautiful place for us. It's not a place where we have to connive and contrive and fight and try to get our way and try to. It's not a cutthroat world. It's a world of Gan Eden that we want to go back into. So I decided that I wasn't going to threaten or pull rank or anything like that. I just kept on writing. It's valuable that we meet before the family arrives, and I want to do it face to face and person to person. Yeah, but I don't have time, but I can, but it's not part of what you're paying me. We need to meet before the family gets here. When is a good time for you during the week? You need to carve out 2 hours at least. That's it. That's what I kept on writing back. And eventually she wrote, okay, we're going to do it in this time. In other words, my interaction with someone else is twofold. One, it teaches me about myself. Hashem put this hostess in my life to learn about myself, that I tend to get into militant mode, that I tend to love a fight. I tend to want to strong arm the other person that's across from me. And I don't want to live in that kind of world. So that's going to be. So not only are we listening to the people, but we're learning about ourselves in the process. We learn about ourselves every time we have an interaction with someone else. Okay, understood? That okay.
Yes, and it's actually huge. Thank you.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. And at the end of the day, let's say that this is something that I need to figure out about myself a little bit more. Just 1 minute. I just want to mute. Okay, sorry. I just needed to mute everyone because I was at the end of the day, I realized that I get a lot of adrenaline out of being in a militant mode and fighting and even coming out on top, because I was going to come out on top. I'm the one that's hiring her. I'm her boss. And I have all the power. And I realized about myself that wielding my power gives me a rush. And it's a great realization, because it means that I can start twisting someone's arm and something else that yourself on the back, and the other person is wrong and I'm right, and that you're not hearing me well again. Okay, I don't know why. And
Now we
I'm
are.
gonna try to
Now we are.
just see something in a minute. Computer. Let me try to connect with it.
Ima.
And if we fall out, then everyone. Do you hear me? Val?
It's on and off.
I hear you, Tal.
It's on and off. Okay. It's on and
Now we
off.
hear
Are
you.
you
you.
connected?
Okay,
Are you
I'm trying my
connected to the
computer and
Wi-Fi?
no, I'm not. I'm connected regular. Should I connect to the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it says your bandwidth is low, which means you probably need to go to Wi-Fi.
Okay, so let me just. Amazing. Okay. Right. Okay, so now I want to go to the story of my friend who is considering getting a divorce. And as I said, the story started, I mean, they weren't living well together for a while, but the straw that broke the camel's back is when they went, and she wanted to get there. She wanted to get there an hour before the swearing in ceremony because she wanted to have a picnic and everything. And her husband said he just wanted to go in for the swearing ceremony. And so they went in two separate cars. She left 2 hours before. He got there right when the ceremony started. She had a picnic with her family in the swearing in, because that's like usually what families do. But there's no such thing as usual. The husband didn't feel like it. She did feel like it. And after they finished the swearing in, the picnic, the swearing in, and it was time for every one of her sons needed to get to his, which was an hour out of the way, and she was already exhausted because she had prepared the picnic and driven earlier and organized everything. And because we came in separate cars, and her husband told her, no, I just want to get home. Really tired. And she ended up taking her son to the base, and pissed and angry, and at that moment she decided that she wants to, she's starting the divorce process. So Michal asked her, tell me another story that happened to you this week that upset you. And she said, what happened to me this week is that I wanted an article of clothing from a store called Golf in Israel. And so now everyone just put themselves on mute. And the woman, the cashier, just kept on telling her, no, I can't help you. No, it didn't come. No, I don't know why. Like, and I'm not calling the store and I'm not finding out. And that's something that triggered her in that week. And it turns out that she doesn't like to be told no to. No one is able to tell her no. She asked her husband, could you take my son? He said no. That's it. Angry. What? How could he tell me no? And one of the things, if we want to grow spiritually, is our ability to be able to accept no. Our ability to accept no, that is spiritual growth. So when we say things shouldn't be this way, it means that we have a picture of how things should be, and that's our idol, the picture that we have in our head. This is how it should be. And our inability to say no is our inability to hear what Hashem has in store for us and say, I expect. I accept, sorry, not I expect. Like, I expect is the opposite. I accept, oh, the thing didn't come to the store? Okay, I'll find out. I accept that this is what Hashem had in store for me. My husband said, no, he's not going to take my son to the army base. I accept that. I accept that I could either take my son could take a bus, my son could take a cab, I could pay for a cab. Like, it's accepting God's reality in this world. It's accepting what Hashem has in store for us in this world. And that is what we call spiritual maturity. Spiritual maturity. We need to realize what happens inside of us when we're told no. What happens to us when we're told no? She discovered that when she is told no by anyone, and let's now take her husband, because that was the straw that broke the camel's back, it's an opportunity for her to talk in a negative way about him. She was told no. As opposed to being told no, we can take it as a gift to be able to reach higher spiritual levels of maturity, of being able to take no with equanimity, being able to take no and say, this is what Hashem had in store for me. I have a friend who lost a child, and like the next step to grow is like, I have no idea why Hashem took the child. I have no idea why this is the path that he chose for her. We each have a path that we're chosen to take. But what I do know is when something is being taken away from us, we're being told no. And it's an opportunity for us to grow, to mature, to connect to Hashem more, to see what he wants from us, to see what path he's taking us on, to be able to see what he has in store for us, to be able to connect to him more, right? As opposed to Sarit, who's my friend, who every no is an opportunity for her to talk negative about the person that told her no, whether it was the cashier, whether it's her husband. Now, what does it mean when someone tells us no? When someone tells us no, like Sarit's husband, he has his ratzon and you have your ratzon. And he's not willing to let go of his ratzon to meet your ratzon. That's what a no means. A no means that the person wants to stay within his ratzon. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He doesn't want to go traveling with your ratzonot. He wants to stay with his. And it's an opportunity for us to be able to take responsibility for our ratzonot. We want our son to be driven to the base. We have unlimited and infinite options for him to be driven to the base, but we cannot put our ratzon at anyone else. And at this point, when they were up there at the swearing of her son, that's when she started to talk bad about him. He doesn't care. He's inconsiderate. He's unyielding. He's stubborn. There's no one to talk to. It's like she was saying, if he tells me no, then why do I need him? It's as if when someone tells us no, we think that the other person is here to fulfill my wishes in this world. But no one is here to fulfill our wishes in this world. Hashem is here to fulfill our wishes in this world. And we turn to him and we ask him and we talk to him and we see what are the options available to us. But we don't expect other people to fulfill our wishes in this world. Now, the interesting thing about Sarit's husband is that they went to the, it's not a negotiator, it's a megasher that is called a mediator. Yes. They went to the mediator to work things out. And the last meeting in the mediator, he decided that he wants more money from her. They both have a lot of money, but he wanted more of the, more for himself. Otherwise, he's not giving her a get, kind of a thing. And Michal was telling her, you know why he doesn't want to get divorced from you? Not because you harassed him to death, and not because, you made his life miserable, et cetera, et cetera. He is not getting divorced from you because you made a picture of him in your head. You created a picture of him in your head as a person who's inconsiderate and doesn't care and is unyielding and is selfish. And he's not going to let you divorce that when you are thinking of him in that way. You need to think of him in different ways. You need to think of him of who he really is, the kind of man he really is. A man that gave you children, that supported you, that gave you a good life, that et cetera, et cetera. You need to think of him and then he'll divorce you, because then you'll be divorcing the real person, not the person that you built in your head, not the picture that you made into your head. Now, I feel like in our lives and in our world, in our physical world, we reached the top of the top. Literally, I walk out my door and I know I have everything in the world. I have a car to take me from place to place. I have my children that I could feed them all the food in the world that I want, that I could take them on vacation. I have a house that I can host in, like physical, like I have the beach down the block from me. In the physical world, we reached the top. We have everything we will ever need and desire, every single one of us. But where we are internally, spiritually, I think the question is, how do I internalize the world? How I experience the world around me and how I interact with the world around me. Am I able to have a life of Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid? Am I able to function in my world with seeing Hashem in front of me always, having God in the forefront of my mind always, every minute? Because if I'm able to do that, I will be happy every second of my life, and no one could take that away from me. No one could take it away from me. I want to give an example of, I just want to see what time it is. Oh, good. We're still doing good in time. I wanted to give an example of my last Shlomo, when he was finishing high school. I remember that his school, as like an end of the year, so they didn't do an end of the year party, but what they do is an end of the year Shabbat. And they take all the parents camping for Shabbat. And he's in 12th grade, and it's, it's a Shabbat where there's a lot of singing and eating together and a lot of talking, and it's a very inspiring internal kind of Shabbat. And we were going from one thing to the next, like the prayers in the forest and uplifting talks and songs, and it was a very elevated Shabbat in my mind. And so that Shalishit, I asked, one of the mothers, how did you like it? How are you enjoying the Shabbat? And she said, well, it's okay. The beds were not something to be like, the mattresses that they gave us left a lot to be desired. The schedule, I wasn't even crazy about it. And the food, like really, they call that food. And then I realized that I realized that both me and her had the same exact Shabbat, but we are able to create the experience for ourselves and make ourselves ecstatic every second, regardless of the physical trappings, at every place that I am and exist. Nothing could affect me, because I am able to create a mindset where I could enjoy anything and everything that comes my way. Because she decided to focus on, the food or the lumpy mattress. That was her decision to focus on. And I really looked maybe a little bit beyond. We slept on the same mattress. We ate the same food. But I came out of the Shabbat floating on cloud 9, and she came out of the Shabbat, feeling like, what did this do for me? But for me, it was an opportunity to be with my son, to be with his friends, to listen to his rabbis, to sing, to be in the open air, to breathe fresh air, to there were so many new experiences for me. And it really is up to me if I make myself, it's up to us, if I make myself ecstatic or not, if I make myself miserable or happy, if I have God walking with me every minute of the way, or if I don't. So because Hashem is with us in all places, it doesn't matter what we choose, because godliness is walking with us. When we have Hashem right next to us, this is from Hashem, this is what he wants, this is what he had in store for us, this is what he chose for us, this is what he planned for us. When we're able to do that, we're able to walk in an elevated, more happy, more secure, more serene way in this life. And I want to say that I have my daughter Tal on this class, if she's still on, but there are times that I can hold on to it. And this is my avodah. There's times that I can hold on to it. And there are times that I allow life to overwhelm me and to overtake me. And that's when I lose my connection to Hashem. And then I call Tal in a panic, Tal, the bar mitzvah, take this over, take that over. And Tal's over to say, Ima, I'll take over this hotel and I'll take over these meals and everything like that. But it could be done from a place of panic and letting go of God's hands, or it could be done from a place of holding on to God's hands and saying, you're with me, we're doing this together, I have you in front of me, and I'm going to give over certain things to you. Okay, so that's where my avodah is at, to be able to be present with Hashem, with the people around me, with what I need to do, to know not to allow it to overwhelm me, to be able to source out whatever I can't do, get help with what I can't do. So if I won't, like I was telling someone to outsource, because she's also working in a job similar than me and it's very overwhelming to us. She goes, but then I'm not going to make as much money. So sometimes that thought could occur to me. However, whatever I'm meant to make, Hashem will give me. It's not going to come through anxiety. It's not going to come in this way. It's going to come in other ways. If I give this money to someone else and outsource it, if I was meant to have that, it will come to me in other ways. Oh, can I tell you something great? Whenever I used to do events in different venues, I would always go to the venue guy and tell him, if there's any food left over, I'd love to take it home. I usually like to take it home. That way I don't have to work hard for Shabbat. And I usually love to take it to Pnei Kedem because there are always women giving birth over there. And I loved giving them food. Now, I realized that whenever I asked the venue owner, could you pack up the leftover food? I would all of a sudden have a constriction in my stomach. Like, did he do it? Did he pack everything? Did he leave something out? Did he, is he giving it to me? Is he not giving it to me? And this time I said, I am not asking anything from anyone. I'm just relinquishing it. And after the huge event in Yafa, the owner of the venue came and told me, we packed a whole big, whatever was left over, I packed dinner for you. Literally, my family lived on it for a week and I didn't even ask for it. I didn't have the knot in my stomach. It came to me because it was supposed to come to me. And that's what it means by living Shiviti Hashem Benegdi Tamid. Hashem is always there in the forefront of my mind, walking with me every minute. And that is a great recipe for happiness that no one can take it away from us. Okay,